Hey guys, Dakota from Cardtropolis TCG. Today I'm going to be doing a modern deck profile on the deck that I played in a modern 1K about a week ago. Um, we have a vlog that we're going to put up on our YouTube channel, so that'd be kind of fun to watch if you're into vlogs. But yeah, so my first like big-ish tournament in a long time, since COVID and everything. But yeah, I was practicing a lot of the black red aggro mid range deck, uh, the DRC, Ragavan, Thoughtseize, just black red deck. Um, I did not think I was good enough to play that deck, or just didn't have enough testing with it, so I decided to just build this. I built this like the night before. You'll see in the vlog me like laying it out and everything. But yeah, I just decided to throw all the good cards together. Um, there's a couple new cards that I'm playing, but yeah, I guess we'll get into the deck profile. Um, yeah, so the deck of choice that I played was Jeskai Stoneblade, blue, white, red. I think the deck has game against everything. It's very consistent. Yeah, and you're just playing good threats, good removal, some counter spells, and yeah. But we'll get started. So first thing, we're playing Ragavan, the legendary monkey. Whenever it deals damage to a player, you make a treasure token, which I'm using my nice scene on SPs, which are artifacts that tap for, or you sacrifice for mana of any color, and then you exile the top card of your opponent's deck. If and you can cast that card. And with the mana that you get from the treasure tokens, you can cast anything usually. Um, it's just a very good threat going first. Even going second, it's not bad, because if they only play like one threat on your second turn, you can kill something, attack in, get a treasure token, and then use your other mana and the treasure token, like even play Stoneforge or hold up counterspell. So that's really strong. Um, and then you can also dash it for 2. So if you're playing as like a control deck, or if you like top deck and need to get in some damage really quick, that's always nice. Yeah, card's really good. In some matchups, you do side it out. So against like creature heavy ones, I usually sided it out. Sometimes I left it in if I was okay with trading my Ragavan with like whatever they're playing like early game. It just kind of depends on the matchup. Next up, we got Stoneforge Mystic. Stoneforge is just Stoneforge. If they don't have an answer, then now there's a new card called Cauldron Complete, which is like a monster of a card. But yeah, Stoneforge just got better with the introduction of this card. I do think the best way to attack Stoneforge is discard spells. You let them get the Stoneforge off, you let them keep the Stoneforge Mystic, and then you try to use targeted discard to hit whatever they grab. I think that's the best way to answer it. But yeah, when it enters the battlefield, you search your deck for an equipment, and then you can pay 2 mana, tap it to put it into play. So it gets around counter spells and stuff. Pretty good card, been around for a while. Next up, we got Snapcast Mage. This has also been around for a while. Just 2 mana, flash. When it enters the battlefield, you can target a spell in your graveyard and copy it. So it's extra removal, extra counter spells. That's all it is in here. That's the only thing I can really copy. But Snapcaster and counter spell is really nice. Into Archmage Charm, drawing some cards. Cryptic's always good if you can get to 6 mana, and then copying any of the 1 mana removal spells is nice too. Next up, we got our equipment. We got Sword and Feast of Famine, Batterskull, and Cauldron Complete. Sword and Feast and Famine, I'm playing because I'm playing so many counter spells. It's pro black and green. When it makes contact with a player, they discard a card and you untap all your mana. So you can Stoneforge, put this into play, equip it to something, hit, and then untap and hold up your counter spells, which is very nice. Batterskull, gains life. It's if you have open mana, it's like impossible to kill. You just keep bouncing it back and replaying it. Pretty good resiliency card. And then Cauldron Complete's the new one. Also has Living Weapon, just like Batterskull. Indestructible is important, so they have to exile it. You can't like wear tear it or call against command or whatever. The Germ though is pretty susceptible. Prismatic Ending can hit it. I think it's like Into the Ice or the enchantment that goes on the Snowland can hit it. Path to Exile can hit it. So it is, you can deal with it, and then it's almost impossible to equip or bounce or anything. So one thing you could do is you can Cryptic bounce this back to your hand and put it back into play with Stoneforge. I guess if you wanted to like do that, that's not like the worst play, I guess. But yeah, it's the equipped creature is 5/5, or the Germ that comes into play has 5/5, first strike, trample, indestructible, and haste. So like turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, turn 3 Cauldron Complete, hit them for 5, and you can still be holding up like Force Negation and stuff. So it gives Stoneblade a fast clock, which it hasn't had. Because normally you go turn 2 Stoneforge Mystic, turn 3 put Batterskull in play, and then turn like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're attacking for 4 to deal them 20. Whereas Cauldron Complete comes in turn 3, does 5, and then you only need 3 more turns, so you can win turn 6, which is pretty good for like a control deck. But yeah, so 3 equipment. If we draw them, it's not great, but when you're mulliganing, it's easy to put them back. You can also Jace and like brainstorm them back. But yeah, just a very efficient threat line. I am playing 4 Snapcaster. I do think that's a lot. A lot of other lists are only playing like 2. I love Snapcaster, and copying removal spells like really good. And if I have an extra one, I can just pitch it to Force Negation. So I thought 4 was fine. In the end, I probably would cut 1 because it is essentially a 3 or 4 mana spell, and we already have like some 3s and 4s. So Modern's very fast right now, and you need to be like very low to the ground and very efficient nowadays. But yeah, onto removal. We're playing 4 Lightning Bolt, deals 3 damage to any target. Can hit planeswalkers, players, creatures. Very versatile card. Then we have the new card, Prismatic Ending. It's 1 mana, sorcery, that's the big thing, but it can hit any permanent that's mana value is less than or equal to the number of colors spent to cast this. So if you pay 1 white, you just exile any 1-drop permanent. So you can hit artifacts, enchantments, creatures, but then for 2 mana, putting in a red or a white, you can exile like a 2-drop, and if we can exile up to 3 because we have 3 colors in the deck. I guess we could play like another Triome of some sort to splash for more colors. I don't know if that would hurt the mana base too much, but we don't really want tap lands coming into play because our curve is pretty low for the most part. And Modern's very fast. You don't always have time to play tap lands. But yeah, I was very impressed with this card. Yeah, it just answers a lot of things. You can also just for 1 and kill like exile tokens because it gets around indestructible. So that's really nice. But yeah, it's really good against the food decks. Hits like the books, hits the ovens, hits enchantments, hits Aether Vial. It hits so many things. So this is I really like this card. Next up, we have another one of our win conditions / value cards. We're just playing 2 Jace. I did use his like bounce effect a lot. So yeah, you can +2 to look at the top of someone's deck, leave it there, or put it on the bottom. You can brainstorm, draw 3, put 2 back. Return target creature to its hand, so we can bounce like our own Snapcaster Mage or Stoneforge Mystic if we want to, or we can bounce our opponent's creatures that and counter them on the way back down. It's always nice. And then the ultimate -12, you exile their library and their hand becomes their library. So if you can like play Jace and protect it, that's also a winning game plan. But most of the time, I feel like I'm just winning with Ragavan, like with a sword or something, or like Cauldron Complete is really good. Yeah, I feel like in the tournament that I played, most of the time I was winning with like Ragavan and like Snapcaster Bolt. That was like kind of the main win condition. But sometimes we also Stoneforge into Cauldron. I think I only won 1 game with like Jace Ultimate, I think, or they conceded before it happened. But yeah. Next up, we got counter spells. So we got just 4 counter spell, 2 blue. We tried to build the mana base around around being very heavy blue. This is a great card for Modern, I think. So very low curve. Modern's very fast now, so paying 2 mana to counter anything is sometimes not super efficient if they're playing a lot of 1-drops, but I mean, it's never dead. So that's kind of nice. Next up, we got Archmage Charm. I think this card is actually insane. You can choose one of 3 modes. You can counter a spell, so it's just a hard counter. You can target player draws 2 cards, so you can like +1, or you can gain control of a non-land permanent that costs 1 or less. Yeah, 1 or less. So you can like take people's 1-drops. You can take people's Ragavans. You can take people's Aether Vials. You can take you can take so much stuff with it. You can take Germ tokens, and then they keep the equipment on it because it's still equipped. So like that's insane. But yeah, I definitely won a game by taking someone's I think they might have had a Batter Skull, and yeah, they had a Batter Skull and like something else, and I took the Germ token and then they couldn't block it, and I killed them. Next up, we got 3 Force Negation. I don't think we need 4. It is a minus when we like have to use it for free. But yeah, you exile a blue card from your hand to play it for free. Only on your opponent's turn though, so not on your turn. But you counter target non-creature spell, and if you do, you exile it. So the exile is relevant nowadays because there's so many like Delirium decks. A lot of stuff goes to the graveyard. So exiling it's nice, but it's mostly there for when we tap out for Stoneforge or Ragavan. I need something early game to slow our opponent down while we kind of build up our mana so we can start countering things with these spells. So it's only 3. And then next up we got 3 Cryptic Command. This also might have been 1 too many. I sided some out every so often, but our mana base is pretty like light on mana. So I could see cutting a Cryptic for another land, because I'm a little greedy with how many lands I'm playing, especially for a deck with no ops. That's like the biggest thing I noticed from like this list and like some other lists I was working on for like Jeskai, is that there's no more ops anymore. But I feel like we just traded Ragavan for opt, because like the old Stoneforge decks only play like Snapcast or Stoneforge, maybe like a 3-drop to fairy, or oh gosh, what's the name of like the 3-drop flash. When it comes into play, you can exile a spell. It's like a spirit or something. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah. So 14 counter spells. That's a lot. So yeah, just threats, removal, counter spells, very basic. Next up, we got our mana base. Because our mana is like very heavy blue, and early game is very red, because we want like these early. This we can wait like usually a turn 4 or 2. So we're playing 8 fetches. They're all blue fetches. We're playing 2 Hollowed Fountain and 2 Steam Vents as our shocks. No Sacred Foundry, and then 4 Island, 1 Plains. This is probably where people are different about how they want to build their mana bases. I agree with not playing Sacred Foundry because we have so many 2 and 3 drop blue spells. Even this one's like 3. So I agree with not needing Sacred Foundry, but there's so many decks playing Blood Moon now that I thought having the Plains with so many like white cards, and if they Blood Moon and I have a Plains and like the rest are mountains and I have an island, I can Prismatic Ending and get rid of the Blood Moon if I have to. But yeah, I have so many islands that Blood Moon doesn't really stop too much. But yeah, having the Plains allows me to Stoneforge Mystic still. But if they Blood Moon, we kind of just turn into a blue-red deck kind of. But I thought it was worth it to have the Plains. Also, I noticed that, I mean, this doesn't really happen a lot, but like turn 1 Canal into like Ragavan, and then like sometimes turn 2, if you're against like an aggressive deck, you want to fetch the Plains to save life rather than fetching like a Hollowed Fountain. So it does turn off Archmage Charm at that point, because you have 1 non-blue source. But we make so many treasures with Ragavan that I didn't have a problem. I never And the odds of having one, like the odds of drawing it early game is so low, so you basically only fetch it when you need it. So yeah, I wanted to play the 1 plains. And then we're on 4 Spire Bluff Canal, just untapped blue-red land. If it's like your first couple lands, modern so fast that that you don't make it too far past that. And saving life is important. Again, a lot of decks are very aggressive right now. And then 1 Triome, just in case we flood, or like turn 1, if we don't do anything, then we can fetch that turn 1. And then turn 2, play like Spire Bluff Canal, have perfect mana, essentially. How many lands is that? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 22 lands? Yeah, 22 is maybe 1 short of what it should be, so maybe cut like a Snapcaster for a land, and then cut a Cryptic for, I don't know, maybe another removal spell or something. But I was very happy with the main deck in the tournament. As for the sideboard, I kind of just threw it together. I didn't like some of the sideboard choices everyone else who was like topping with this like deck online were playing, so I just decided to like put in what I thought was going to be good. Rest in Peace, exiles all graveyards. Whenever a card goes to graveyard, you remove it, so it turns off our Snapcasters, but it also kills Dredge, it kills any kind of Reanimator deck, it hits the black-red decks, it hits like modular on like hardened scales and stuff, so very versatile card. There's a lot of graveyard decks right now. I thought it would be good. Then 2 engineered explosives. There's the Rhino Cascade deck that you can just play this on 0 and wipe all the zeros. Gotta be careful though, because that hits your germ tokens as well. But good against like an Enchantress, good against any deck, honestly. Like, it's just a way to destroy multiple permanents in 1 card. So yeah, it hits Elves, hits against food, it hits a lot of the books and the ovens. You could wipe out all their food if you wanted to. They might sack a couple in response or something, but yeah, like overall this card's really powerful right now in the format. Hits a lot of things. Next up we got Stony Silence, so activated abilities of artifacts can't be activated. So again, this kind of hits us a little bit. We can't equip, but both of these are triggered ability with the living weapon. So we get the initial value out of this. We can't equip the sword or equip any of them under that. So it's it's mostly for like food decks or affinity decks, or sometimes Tron decks as well. But yeah, so you just have to be careful. Some of these sideboard cards hit us, so you have to be careful when sideboarding and stuff. Next up, Timely Reinforcements. I really like this card. I give more respect to burn players than they probably deserve. Or any kind of like aggro, like zoo deck. Most aggressive decks have some sort of trample or evasion now, so the 1/1 blockers that it makes doesn't really help that much, but like the life gain, like it's good against burn. That's the main reason I have it in here. But yeah, so if you have less life than your opponent, you gain 6. I totally missed that card. If you have less life than your opponent, you gain 6 life. If you have less creatures than your opponent, you make 3 1/1 soldier tokens. So yeah, it's mostly there for burn, but it can be used against other matchups. I totally missed the wear and tear somehow. But yeah, it's a split card. So wear, 2 mana, destroy target artifact. Tear, 1 mana, destroy target enchantment. This is just a versatile card. It's artifact removal in addition to Prismatic Ending, and it's enchantment removal in addition to Prismatic Ending. So against like artifacts and enchantments, we have like a good amount of like answers for those, along with counter spells and everything. So we do have a lot of game against pretty much anything. Next up, 2 Path to Exile. All of our exiling effects right now are sorcery speed, so sometimes we need instant speed ways to like exile things. Like we can't deal with Cauldron Complete. They have to smack us first for 5 before we're able to like answer it. Having Path to randomly get them is nice. But yeah, it's also good for Amulet Titan. Exiling their Primeval Titan before they can like if they give it haste to like get even more lands, because if Amulet Titan's getting 4 lands against you, you're probably dead. But yeah, just another nice 1 mana removal spell that Lightning Bolt like can always kill. Next up, we got one Dispel, counter target instant spell. This is really good for counter, like control decks, because they play a lot of counter spells. So really good one mana answer to that. Also good against like Burn, where you're trying to like hold up Stoneforge Mystic and like everything. Very efficient. It's just a nice card that I like playing. Next up, we got Dovin's Veto. Again, for the control decks, it's blue-white. It can't be countered, and then it counter targets non-creature spells. So good for winning counter wars against like planeswalkers and stuff. Again, I thought there was going to be some control decks, so it's having a nice additional counter spell for that I thought was good. And then another piece of equipment, Sword and Fire Knights, pro red and blue for the equipped creature, and then whenever it deals damage to a player, you can draw a card and deal 2 damage to any target. So good against like creature matchups where you can like clear the board and then just kind of keep the board smaller. But yeah, you bring it in against decks that are like blue and red. I brought it in against like mono blue control. But yeah, very very nice card. But yeah, sideboard was kind of just thrown together just with like good cards. But yeah, so overall in the tournament, I went 5-2. I got 13th place, did not make top 8. Won $50, so that was cool. I was like tiebreak a couple, like a point or two off of like getting 12th place, which would have been $75, but it's whatever. But yeah, the decks that I went against, I went against Burn with Bauble and Dragon Rage Channeler, so that was really interesting. Timely Reinforcements is really good against them, so I brought that in. But yeah, I feel like we're pretty good against Burn. Ragavan can cast their spells, which is pretty sick. Can also trade with like Goblin Guides and stuff. We can exile Swift Spears. Eidolon's kind of a problem, but like again, we can just kill it. Cauldron Complete is pretty gross because they weren't expecting it. So I kind of just smacked them for 5, and they're like, oh gosh. And then they like couldn't really Eidolon because they had like 2 Eidolons out. So no one could really play anything. I just kept like attacking for 5. The second one I played against was Hardened Scales. I ended up losing 2-1. I brought in Stony Silence. I should have brought in Rest in Peace, but I ultimately didn't, which I think was a mistake. But yeah, I brought in all my artifact removal and like stuff, but the modular still triggers under Stony Silence. So even though like he couldn't really do anything, he was still able to move stuff around as I was killing it, and he just had more creatures than I had removal. So yeah, I barely lost that one. Then I played against Tron. It's like green Tron. I just hit him with Ragavan a couple times. Held up counter spells, countered all the important things like the land searching. He was never able to assemble Tron because I randomly kept hitting Tron lands off this. And then one time I hit a World Breaker, which is a 6 mana and a green. And when it enters the battlefield, you can like I think it's when it enters the battlefield. You can exile a land, enchantment, or like artifact, I think. And I just exiled one of his Tron pieces, and he just like scooped. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, just holding up counter spells and swinging for 5 starting turn 3, and like I don't know. I think our threats are very fast for Tron, so that was pretty nice. Then I played against mono blue taking turns control. That was interesting. Very close games, but I definitely felt like I was never scared during that match. My threats are just too low end, and his counter spells were awkward, and I just was way more efficient and was able to play under him. And whenever he tapped out for a cryptic command, I always had like a couple mana open for counter spells, so I could do my things and counter spell. And yeah, he couldn't really do much. So I won that. 5th round, I played against Enchantress. That was super close. Oh my gosh. So their entire deck is like enchantments and maybe a couple creatures that are also enchantments. I don't have a ton of enchantment hate. Like I have the tears, and I have a couple engineered explosives, and then I have the prismatic endings and counter spells and stuff. But they play a card that says I can't counter their enchantments, and if you don't kill that, then there's like another thing that says you can't target their like enchantments have shrouds. You can't target them, so you have to kill that first. Then you have to kill the can't be countered one, and then you have to start countering the stuff. It gets out of hand real fast. But yeah, I won a very very close game. Game 3, though, I did end up just kind of going Cauldron Complete, swing for 5, remove the solitary confinement and counter, and it was game. But yeah, that match was very close. 6th round was Hammer Time. I was not ready for this deck. I definitely died on turn 4 because I tapped out for like Stoneforge Mystic, and then he just went double Hammer Time, swing for 20 something, and I just died in one shot. So that was gross. Game 2, I definitely thought I was going to lose Game 2 as well, but then I just ended up like I was stuck on 2 lands the entire time, and I top decked a 3rd land, which was Fire Bluff Canal, and I Archmage Charm took their Germ token that had like their Batter Skull on it and like something else, and then I just like swung with everything else and he died. And then Game 3, I think I kept like a lot of like removal and stuff, and then he just like double Urza Saga'd me and just made so many constructs, and just he just kept his entire hand, and I had to waste my entire hand killing the constructs before I ended up dying. But yeah, that was a rough loss. Then last round was Black Green Elves. I won that 2-1. Game 1, I just killed all of his stuff pretty, and then like attacked with Cauldron, and he just eventually had to start chump blocking. Game 2, I ended up losing. I pathed at the wrong time, I think. So he had an Azuri, which is a lord that can also make mana, I think it was Azuri. And I had a path, and I was like, if he draws something else that's good, I'll path that instead, because he didn't have any cards in hand, so he couldn't like use the mana for anything. Because he also had a card that he could like play cards with from the top of his deck. So I was debating on if I should kill the one that plays the top cards of his deck or kill the Lord, and that would take all of his mana too. I ended up waiting, and then he like just started playing a ton of stuff and just kind of got out of hand, and then the removal spell on the Azuri, half a turn later just was not good enough, because he got another Azuri off the top or a couple cards down, I don't remember. But then Game 3 again, just Regvan Stoneforge killed all this stuff, and just swung for lethal. But yeah, so 5-2, not bad. I do enjoy playing this style of deck. It was a lot of fun. I felt like I had a chance in every single matchup. Whether or not it was close, and stuff, I didn't feel like I was just down and out. Like, I felt like my sideboard was good, my main deck was good. But yeah, so that's the deck. I'll have a couple more deck profiles up on here soon. I'll probably do the black-red deck that I would have played instead of this. And then I'll also have like the humans deck and like some of the other players' deck lists. If they don't want to do the deck profiles, then I'll do it for them. And then we'll have some legacy deck lists coming up, because there's a legacy 1K coming in a few weeks, and we're gonna get ready for that. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this like deck profile. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have any like comments or suggestions, we're totally open to them. But I hope you guys like this type of content, and I hope you guys have a great day and enjoy the video. Bye.